Jamie's sobs cut through the jungle like a knife, his small voice breaking as he screamed for his mum. "Mummy! Mummy!" The 6-year-old stumbled over gnarled roots, his trainers caked in mud. A toy car gripped tight in his sweaty hand. Thorny vines scratched his arms, tearing his shirt, but he kept crying, lost in the dark. Miles away, Sarah, his mum, was on her knees at their campsite, phone pressed to her ear, voice shaking as she screamed into 911. "My baby's missing! Please, he's gone!" Her husband, Tom, paced behind her, fists clenched, his eyes scanning the trees, guilt choking him. They'd been roasting marshmallows just hours ago, a family getaway. But Jamie had wandered off in a blink. Was he snatched? Did he get lost? The operator's calm voice did nothing to ease Sarah's panic. Her boy was out there, alone. In the jungle, Jamie's cries grew hoarse, his little body trembling as he tripped, falling into the dirt. His toy car bounced away, landing near a twisted vine. The air turned heavy, and a low growl rumbled from the shadows. Something huge was watching, its eyes glinting in the mist. Jamie scrambled back, his heart hammering, tears streaming down his muddy face. "Mummy," he whimpered, but no one answered. Back at the camp, rangers arrived, their torches slicing through the night, but the jungle was a black wall, hiding its secrets. Sarah clutched Tom's arm, sobbing, "He's scared, Tom. He needs me." The growl in the jungle grew louder, and Jamie froze, staring at the massive shape moving closer. His small hand reached for the toy car, but he couldn't move. The narrator's voice breaks in, low and urgent. One night, Jamie vanished. His mother's desperate call echoed, but what found him in the dark would change his life forever. The camera zooms in on Jamie's tear-streaked face, the toy car glinting in the mud, as the shadow looms larger, then cuts to black. The jungle was silent now. Jamie's cries faded to whimpers as he curled up under a gnarled tree, his toy car lost in the mud. His small body shook, dirt smudging his tear-streaked face, when a massive shadow loomed over him. It was a gorilla, its fur scarred but eyes soft, staring at the trembling boy. Jamie flinched, expecting danger, but the beast, named Titan by the narrator, didn't attack. Instead, it nudged a handful of sweet berries toward him, grunting gently. Jamie hesitated, then grabbed the berries, shoving them into his mouth, his hunger winning over fear. Days turned into weeks, and Titan became Jamie's guardian. The gorilla showed him how to climb trees, his huge hands steadying Jamie's wobbly legs. When a snake hissed nearby, Titan roared, scooping Jamie into his arms, his warm fur a shield against the world. Jamie giggled for the first time in days when Titan playfully tossed him into a pile of leaves, their laughter echoing through the trees. One evening, Jamie found a smooth, carved stone by a stream, its edges worn like it held a story. He held it up, and Titan grunted, pressing his massive palm against Jamie's tiny one, the stone between them, a quiet promise. Titan was like a dad who didn't need words, his every move saying, "You're safe." Jamie's dirty face lit up with smiles, his fear replaced by trust. But the narrator's voice slipped in, low and uneasy. This bond wasn't just chance. Jamie's disappearance wasn't random. Someone, somewhere, wanted him gone. The hint hung in the air, unanswered, as Titan carried Jamie to a nest of leaves, curling around him to keep the night's chill away. Back at the campsite, Sarah and Tom's search grew frantic, their voices hoarse from calling Jamie's name. Posters with his picture fluttered on village walls, but the jungle kept its secret. Jamie, nestled against Titan's chest, clutched the carved stone, unaware of the world looking for him. The camera lingered on his small hand, the stone glinting faintly, then panned to Titan's watchful eyes, scanning the dark. Something wasn't right. The jungle felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath. 3 years had passed since Jamie vanished, and the jungle had become his home. Now 9, he darted through the trees with Titan, the gorilla who'd raised him, their carved stone tucked in his pocket. They were splashing in a stream, Jamie's laughter ringing out, when shouts broke the calm. Flashlights sliced through the dusk, and Jamie froze, clutching Titan's fur. Sarah and Tom, his parents, emerged with a local tracker, their faces gaunt from endless searching. "Jamie!" Sarah gasped, tears spilling as she ran toward him. Jamie backed away, his small body pressed against Titan, who growled low, confused. "No, I don't want to go," Jamie screamed, his voice cracking as Tom grabbed his arm. Sarah sobbed, trying to hug him, but Jamie kicked and thrashed, his eyes locked on Titan. The tracker, a grizzled man, muttered something about strange rumors tied to Jamie's disappearance, his words lost in the chaos. Flashbacks cut in, Sarah and Tom taping missing posters to lampposts, their eyes hollow from sleepless nights, whispering, "We failed him." Now, their relief was real, but they didn't see the bond Jamie shared with Titan. Tom pulled harder, and the carved stone slipped from Jamie's pocket, landing in the dirt. "Titan!" Jamie wailed, reaching out, but Titan stood frozen, his massive shoulders slumped, eyes fixed on the stone. The gorilla's mournful growl echoed as Sarah and Tom dragged Jamie to a jeep, his screams fading into the night. Titan lumbered forward, picking up the stone, his rough fingers tracing its edges. The jeep's engine roared, and dust clouded the air as Jamie's family drove away, leaving the jungle behind. Sarah held Jamie tight, whispering, "You're safe now." But his tear-streaked face stayed turned toward the trees. The narrator's voice slipped in, heavy. "They thought they saved him, but they tore him from the only family he knew. And someone still wasn't telling the truth about that night." The camera lingered on Titan, alone, clutching the stone, his low growl fading into silence. Jamie, now 10, sat alone in a noisy city classroom, his fingers tracing the edges of the carved stone hidden in his pocket. The city was a maze of concrete and honking cars, nothing like the jungle's quiet hum. Kids snickered at his odd habits, eating with his hands, climbing desks when the teacher wasn't looking. "Freak," one boy whispered, and Jamie's cheeks burned. At home, Sarah and Tom tried to help, but their smiles felt forced, their questions about school unanswered. Jamie didn't fit, not here. Every night, he slipped the stone under his pillow, whispering, "Titan, I miss you," his voice barely a breath. Miles away, Titan lingered near Jamie's old village, a scrap of Jamie's torn shirt clutched in his paws. The gorilla's ribs jutted out, his once strong frame weak from refusing food. He'd sit by the stream where they'd played, staring at the path Jamie left by, waiting. The narrator's voice cut in, soft but heavy. Jamie was trapped in a world that wasn't his, and Titan was fading, holding onto a boy who couldn't come back. The camera panned to Jamie, staring out his bedroom window at the city lights, then to Titan, his fur matted, eyes dull but fixed on the horizon. Something felt wrong, like the truth about Jamie's disappearance was still buried. The narrator paused, speaking directly. "Ever felt like you didn't belong? Drop a comment, tell us your story." A beat. Then, if Jamie's fight's hitting you hard, smash that like button and subscribe for more. The screen lingered on Jamie, slipping the stone back into his pocket, his face set with a quiet resolve, as if he knew he'd never be whole without Titan. Jamie was 15 now, his carved stone a constant weight in his pocket, a reminder of the jungle he'd left behind. The city still felt wrong, too loud, too cold. One evening, slouched on the couch, he overheard a news report on the TV. A gorilla found dead near a remote village, clutching a child's shirt, as if waiting for someone. Jamie's heart stopped. He knew it was Titan. His hands shook as he grabbed his phone, searching for more, the words "waiting for someone" burning in his mind. Flashbacks flooded in, Titan's massive arms shielding him from rain, his low grunts as they shared the carved stone by the stream. Jamie's eyes stung with guilt. He'd never gone back. That night, while Sarah and Tom slept, he stuffed a backpack with a flashlight and the stone. Sneaking out, hitchhiking under a starry sky, he headed for the jungle, his pulse racing. The narrator's voice cut through, urgent. Jamie ran toward the truth, but what he'd find would break him. And someone still knew more about that night. He vanished. The camera flashed to Titan's final days. His body frail, ribs sharp under matted fur, lying by the village path, the scrap of Jamie's shirt crumpled in his paws. He'd stopped eating, his eyes fixed on the horizon, waiting for the boy who never came. Jamie's journey was desperate, hitching rides, dodging questions, his face set with fear and hope. The tracker's old words echoed in his mind, that strange rumor about his disappearance, something tied to a family secret, maybe a debt his parents never spoke of. But none of it mattered now. He just needed to see Titan. The jungle loomed closer, its familiar scent hitting him like a wave, but the silence felt wrong, heavy with loss. The screen lingered on Jamie's trembling fingers, clutching the carved stone. As the road stretched into the dark, Jamie stumbled into the jungle, his flashlight cutting through the dark, the carved stone heavy in his pocket. The familiar scent of damp earth hit him, but the silence was crushing, like the jungle knew what he'd find. His heart pounded as he reached the stream where he and Titan once played. There, under a twisted tree, lay Titan's body, still and frail, the scrap of Jamie's shirt clutched in his paws. The carved stone rested beside him, glinting faintly in the moonlight. Jamie's legs gave out, and he collapsed, sobs tearing from his chest. "I'm sorry, Titan," he whispered, his voice raw. "I should have come back." He reached for the stone, his fingers brushing Titan's cold fur, and the weight of his guilt crashed down. Flashbacks flickered, Titan tossing him into leaves, shielding him from danger, their hands pressed over the stone. Jamie's tears fell onto the dirt, his body shaking as he begged for forgiveness. The truth about his disappearance, a vague family secret, maybe a debt, felt meaningless now. Nothing could undo this loss. The narrator's voice slipped in, soft and heavy. Jamie found his family again, but too late. Some bonds break your heart forever. Jamie sat there for hours, clutching the stone, whispering to Titan until his voice gave out. As dawn broke, he placed the stone gently on Titan's chest, a final promise. Standing, he wiped his face, the jungle quiet around him. The camera panned to the stone, weathered but whole, then to Jamie walking away, his shadow long in the sunrise. The narrator spoke again. "What would you do for someone you love? Share your thoughts below. If this story broke your heart, like, share, and subscribe for more." The screen faded to black, leaving the weight of Jamie's grief lingering.